Okay, this kind of goes along with the lines of a video I did a few days ago. Difference between drugs and medicine. Excuse me. Medicine is actually drugs. What they call medicine, these prescription drugs they give us, is actually drugs. Drugs are these everything that is man-made that has been messed with from the natural substance. Medicine is the natural things that we can do that will help our bodies in so many ways. There's so many different things. I mean, they've realized that cannabis has absolute medical purposes. They realize that um, recently I was I'm sure it's been heard by from more people than me that they realized that things like um, shrooms and DMT and stuff like that is actually the new way of treating depression and PTSD and stuff like that. It's actually opens up the mind, is the spiritual awakening, and actually helps people get off drugs, smoking, drinking, doing all kinds of different things, and awakens to a new spiritual level. Absolute atheists and agnostics take this stuff once and believe in a higher power. They don't know what it is, but they do believe there's absolutely something more than just life, death, and that's it, where they didn't before. And it's an interesting thought. I mean, I've watched so many people in the last few days. I mean, I never even heard of this stuff until about a year ago. I'm not saying that I didn't inadvertently do DMT when I was in this drug scene doing ecstasy, but it's a completely different thing than just straight DMT. And I've never done any hallucinogens, never took LSD, PCP, shrooms, ayahuasca, peyote. Never done any of that stuff. But the actual studies on this stuff is inspiring to some degrees because they actually say that this is spiritually mind opening, especially like the ayahuasca trips. Of course, usually you have to go to somewhere special and 200, 250 plus a night to do this stuff, or go out in the middle of the jungle, and who knows what that costs. But they say it's absolutely mind opening spiritually. That's why all these Indians did all this stuff and rituals, because it was something that got you on that other level, that other plane, crossing over without dying. I mean, and really, most people don't even experience it like a trip, like a hallucination. They actually say it's more of open your eyes to everything that's always around us that we can't see. And we know there's things you can't see right in front of us. Otherwise, you'd be able to see radio waves and sun, the actual rays from the sun instead of just the way it brightens up, and all the things flying through the air. And I mean, and there's actually other creatures walking around in front of us that we just can't see. We can't perceive them. Whether it's you don't want us to perceive them or whatever. I mean, our eyes are spiritually blocked, or our third eye, the pineal gland or whatever it's called, isn't opened up right, or isn't working right because of all the stuff they put in the food and the water and everything else. And it's where DMT is actually said to be, because DMT is a natural substance in our body. our body actually produces this stuff. And a lot of different plants and animals also produce this stuff, which higher doses, because when our body produces these things in our brain, most of the time we metabolize it so fast that you never notice it in your bloodstream. I mean, you can do certain breathing exercises, certain things that'll put you into a higher sense of or even certain exercises. I mean, I hear that a lot of these Orientals and stuff actually know how to get into this trance state, doing certain exercises and stuff like that. But for the true effects of this stuff, you gotta use the plants that Hawa has put out there in the world. I do not believe that anything that is natural, as long as it's not in excession, is bad for us. I mean, anything in excession could be bad for you. I mean, tobacco's not bad. Smoking a pack or more a day is probably bad for you, but tobacco is not bad for you. Natural alcohol, like wines that occur naturally in nature, are not bad for you. Any tea that you make from any plant is not bad for you as long as you're not doing an excession. And I mean, most of your medicines are actually teas or extracts or some degree, or even mixing a couple of plants together, and usually extracting it with hot water or whatever, whether it's a breathing treatment or making a tea to drink. I mean, that's usually how most of them are actually taken. I mean, it's kind of like taking onions and putting sugar over it and letting all the pure zinc run out. I mean, it's basically the same purpose. And once we learn how to do all this stuff naturally, we wouldn't need any of the stuff that they try to kill us with by making us take these medicines. You have all these side effects, and the natural stuff doesn't have side effects like that. I mean, you still can OD on anything, but almost anything. I've never heard of anybody overdose on marijuana, but you can still do too much of that too. But medicine is all these natural things. I really think that they ought to legalize some of these things. I mean, I do believe absolutely cocaine is a drug. Heroin is a drug. Morphine is a drug. Fentanyl is probably one of the worst drugs ever made, and most derivatives of the poppy plant are absolute drugs. Poppy is not a drug. It's a flower. It has very good pain relieving attributes. Just people try to turn it into something else and abuse the crap out of it. Then there's coca. Coca is not a drug, it's a plant. It actually gives you energy and has some numbing aspects. They turned it into a drug, which is ran rampant in the world. Not as much so today, but I still think that people have a lot of problems with crack and some stuff like that in some places. Although the war on opiates is the big thing right now. Primarily fentanyl, but I mean, heroin has actually been coming back into style from what I hear. I mean, I don't do any of this stuff anymore. And as far as hard drugs, I never did, really. And methamphetamines is one of them absolute terrible drugs. I would tell where it came from, but they would probably cut me off YouTube again for violating something or whatever. I mean, I do know where it came from. This is absolutely proven, but I'm not going to say anything. Do your own study. Um, but anyway, but you really ought to check out some of that stuff. And I'm not just saying, trying to get high. I'm just saying, there are so many medicines that actually are helpful. Like red cedar can actually increase your life 45 years or more. I mean, maybe longer. But just taking red cedar needles, because they don't have leaves. Putting them in a bowl and using them as a breathing treatment will actually help open up your lungs. I think it helps with your oxygen levels, stuff kind of like drinking blueberry juice or pomegranate juice. I mean, but actually making it into a tea, cooking on the stove over a week or so. I mean, not straight, but a little bit at a time, or putting it in the oven at a low temperature and boiling it out like over a period of time, and filtering it off and using the tea. I'm not talking about drinking like a pitcher at a time. I'm talking about a little bit at a time. They say can actually, I think it was like a tablespoon a day, could actually increase your life like 45 years, something like that, 45, 50 years, something like that. And there's so many different plants. Violets are good for something. Spearmint and peppermint. I mean, all these different actual plants have purposes besides just putting in as seasonings and stuff. I mean, they actually use them like a breathing treatment. Putting them in a bowl of hot water, putting a towel over it, and using a breathing treatment will actually do all kinds of different things for you. I don't remember exactly what all now. I've done some study on this, but this stuff's easy to find, even on the internet. They just don't tell you these things. There's cleanses for about everything: your lungs, your liver, your kidneys, your gallbladder. It might actually save you from having to have a surgery that you don't need by doing some of these cleanses. And I do believe that, if you make it through this exodus that we're going through right now, then you will be healed in the fountains of youth. Of course, a lot of people think I'm full of crap on that one, but I do believe this is absolutely proven enough. Maybe not scripture per se, it does say or allude to this in I can't remember what book right off the top of my head, but it does allude to this in in one of the books of the Bible. But it doesn't say it dead right out. And there's enough documentation in other historical documents that I believe absolutely prove it is true. But what I was just saying is, really check this stuff out. Figure out what's true for you. Don't believe everybody's thought process on these things. Even mine, I mean. But stop taking all these drugs that they say are medicine. And actually do some study and figure out what's real medicine. I mean, I know that natural doctors are expensive, But you'd be surprised how much they could save your life and keep you from doing a lot, a lot of stuff that could really cost you a lot of problems. As And of course, like I always say, hala hawa, and may you be blessed.